the simple principles of cult brainwashing, cult mind control. Welcome back. Much love, Trav here. I'm out here in the graveyard. Seems like an appropriate place to record this. And many of us are in cults. We are brainwashed in certain ways. We're asleep in certain ways. And I want to help everyone wake up if you choose to, or at least know how these groups are manipulating us. So cults come in many shapes and forms and sizes, and organizations and groups and political ideologies and self-help groups and intentional communities. And it's very important to be able to identify the real beneficial thing from the cult thing, because if you look at cult, what's the difference between a cult and a religion? It's kind of unclear. I'll tell you, basically, people would say that a cult is based around one person with the Messiah complex, and it is exploitive and detrimental. And a lot of things fit into this again, but the key is, are the costs greater than the benefits, not just from your perspective, but from the perspective of the people around you? Because you can be exploited and in worse health for being part of these groups, and maybe they will give you greater benefit in other ways. But if it's totally imbalanced, you're totally exploited, you're giving a bunch of tithing tons of money to the cult, they're giving you some destructive mindset that's going to lead to some kind of mass suicide or some shit like that, then that is definitely an issue. So again, it's not clear what is a cult, what is not a cult, but that's the basic principles I would tell you. Now, cult brainwashing, how does it work? It's actually very simple. I've been studying this just out of curiosity and entertainment. Also because I want to know how persuasion works, manipulation works. I've noticed this used in so many different groups. A lot of online marketers use this. I've even used a few of the principles already in this video, and I will share them with you in just a moment. But before that, I just want to invite you to take a look at things objectively. Things are not necessarily as they seem, and let's dive in. There's a lot to go over, but it's very simple process. Cult brainwashing, cult mind control is 3 steps only. We're all in frozen states for the most part. We have a fixed sense of identity. We have a fixed sense of the world. So the very first step is to unfreeze someone so that they become malleable. The second step is to give them a new ideology, and the third step is to freeze them again. And it's really not that hard to do. You're gonna recognize, you'll probably be freaked out by some of this stuff. So breaking someone's identity down is very important because people are frozen. How do you convince them of something new? You need to shatter their reality. And a really common way to do this that so many different culty groups use is telling you, listen, you've been lied to, the media has lied to you, the government has lied to you, everything you've been told is a lie, the schools have lied to you. Do you want to take the red pill? No, the real truth. And that isn't just red pill ideology, but again, so many groups will do that. That will break your identity down. It's like, wow, wait a minute, actually, yo, what? Everything's been a lie? What? Another way, and again, you see online marketers do that, like, schools have lied to you, they tell you to get a job and do this, but that's not the real way. Wake up, sheeple, right? Another common way that this is done, of breaking someone's identity, is something called attack therapy, which is like an intervention. A bunch of people will encircle you and tell you how you're fucking up and destroying your own life and break you down. They care about you, but you're fucking up and there's a better way, and you're asleep. You don't see what you're doing, right? Stuff like this. There's more subtle ways of breaking, like perceived as enlightenment. Some of the softer cults will be like, hey, so you know, you've been asleep in a certain way, and we're after enlightenment. We're trying to wake up. That's what enlightenment means, right? We're trying to be awake, like the Buddha. You're asleep right now. You don't know the real spiritual path, and we're going to show you that path. So that's step 1, is breaking, unfreezing so that they can move on to step 2 and change you. And again, look at all the groups that you're in, political groups. Definitely employ breaking, unfreezing. Self-help groups will definitely employ. Spiritual groups. Again, so this is just brainwashing mind control, which can be used for your benefit. So you need to look out if you're being exploited and listen to the people around you. Step 2 is the easy part once you've unfrozen them. And where is this info coming from? I've been studying, and I said for entertainment persons, I've studied Jonestown now, I've studied North Korea, I've studied the Symbionese, the Liberation Army, Patty Hearst. I've studied, there's many, the Moonies and so on. Okay, step 2 is where you give them Step 2 is when you give them a new reality. And this can be whatever you want it to be. Okay, so now that you know that you've been asleep and that you've been lied to, or that you've been fucking up and you haven't been aware, here's the real truth. The real truth is this, whatever, you know, this is any number of things. Here's the new ideology. Here's the new thing to believe. Here's the new reality. Here's who you actually are. Here's what the world story actually is. Here's a radically new way to interpret everything that's happened and everything that will happen. And again, that could look like any number of things. That is where it can be destructive. They may try to empower you, but they might tell you with the new reality that the world is going to end or some shit, or that things are really bad and not going to get better, or that you're limited in many different ways. They'll also use other things during this process of isolating you physically, like on a retreat or something like that. Again, and maybe just be a good retreat. You don't know until you're able to tabulate the costs, right? They will control your language, use certain words, control your communication. You know, like you can't talk because we're meditating and stuff like that. We're on an all-day silent retreat, stuff like that, right? Or let's have a day of silence. You know, stuff like that they will employ. Okay, so once they have broken you down or unfrozen you, gotten you to wake up and given you a new sense of identity, from here they will freeze you again, which is important because most people don't know how to unfreeze. And once you're frozen, you're basically you're locked in the cult at that point, and it's going to be very hard for the average person to figure out why and what and get through to you. And this is where it's going to be really freaky because you're going to notice these terms from many of the groups you're in. So how do you freeze someone? You give them a closed circle of logic that is impenetrable, and you can do this by using thought-stopping processes, which I'll get into after, but first giving them cliches that are used in lieu of logic. So a common example of one: you cannot communicate with someone, convince someone, if they say that you are a racist, sexist, homophobe, right? That's it, you're a bad person, you're deplorable, there's good and there's bad, closed. You can't reach that person at that point unless you break their reality. Similarly, on the other side of the political spectrum, if someone's a sheeple, they're brainwashed, they're controlled, right? You can't tell them anything. You can't tell me anything using CNN because it's corrupt and you're brainwashed and you're a sheeple. You're not going to be able to communicate that person if they're broken. Also, certain kind of groups, again, Alcoholics Anonymous, I'm going to use as an example. That can be very beneficial. It's very culty as well, and for some people it can be a negative. And an example of that is anyone who disagrees is in denial. You're in denial, and you have a disease, and you're in denial over it. You cannot possibly reason with that, right? Those are three big examples. The devil, the Moonies, literally. Okay, yeah. So, like bad, that's evil, that's a sin, right? That's bad. You can't reason with that. Nope, the Holy Book said this. Nope, the Holy Book said this. Closed circle of logic. And then thought stopping is often used in combination with this. You'll stop thinking to use a closed circle of logic. So the Moonies would actually train their people to say, if someone is coming at them with information that could break them, crush Satan, hail Jesus, crush Satan, and just like thought stop, right? Thought stopping is also used at various places to make you more malleable, but a common one is like meditation. Meditation, breath focus is great, but as far as like stopping sub-vocalization, that is probably not possible because we just talk to ourselves. That's how it works. Studies show that people sub-vocalize all the time. So like, clear your mind of thoughts, clear your mind of thoughts. You're doing it wrong. You're there thinking, am I the only one? Like, no, everyone else actually is sub-vocalizing to themselves anyway. No one's really thought stopped in that scenario. People have various forms of thought stopping that you can see. Like, people will block you as a form of thought stopping on Twitter or the internet. Oh, this person's threatening to break me. I'm gonna block them. Block the deplorables. I'm going to get an app that blocks all the deplorables for me, so I don't even have to interact with them. If you follow this person, then you're automatically blocked before I even meet you. Stuff like that. Again, there's so many different examples, but that's the basic principle. Breaking reality, giving a new reality, and freezing. So, and for example, I said I used some of those principles. So what I did in this video, and I don't have a messiah complex. I do have organizations. I have a real service business. I don't want to be a cult leader. That's not at all why I study this. I want to protect people. I want to take the good parts and offer a lot of stuff, and I don't want to exploit people and have the bad stuff that comes with that. I want people to, I don't want to freeze people. I'd like to unfreeze people and then let them be unfrozen so they can change themselves if they choose to. But I told you at the beginning that, hey, many of you are in cults and you don't know it. I'm gonna give you the truth, the reality. You've been lied to, right? That is an unfreezing. And then I can tell you how brainwashing and mind control works. And that's changing your identity of who you are. You just reevaluated all the groups that you're in. What I haven't done is frozen you. And I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to give you a closed circle of logic. Keep an open mind. I'll tell you this again, and this is why, to prove I'm not going to freeze you. Cults have pros and cons. The difference between a religion, a community, a self-help group, and a cult is very, very thin and hard to tell. And it's subjective, and I'm leaving that for you to decide. So let me know what you think in the comments. If this is some deep, dark stuff and you want more of it, I will do that. I hope you find this very interesting. Thank you. Much love. Take action for your life movement. Exercise of the day for those of you still here. Take a look at the groups you're in. Take a look at how they have unfrozen you, what the new identity they've given you, and what the closed circle of logic to keep you in is. And if run a cost-benefit analysis. If the benefits are way above the cost, then whatever. It's good for you, right? But it can be hard to tell from when we're inside. Hope you find that useful. Very excited to share this one. See you in the comments. Much love. Peace. Take action.